Welcome to the Nurse Fellowship Programs of the North Shore-LIJ Health System. I'm Bob Kerner, the Director of the Patient Safety Institute. In the next few minutes, I'll provide an overview of the fellowship programs, describe the blended learning techniques used in the fellowship, and outline the professional expectations of each participant. The fellowship programs are a collaboration between the health system's hospitals, the Center for Learning and Innovation, which is the health system's corporate university, the Patient Safety Institute, the health system's simulation lab, and the Institute for Nursing. The health system offers a variety of fellowship opportunities for new graduate nurses or nurses with limited critical care experience. Opportunities exist in critical care, the emergency department, the pediatric emergency department, pediatric intensive care, pediatric hematology and oncology, and the perioperative services. The goal of the fellowship programs is to expedite the transition from novice to highly skilled critical care nurse by developing critical thinking skills and clinical aptitude through theoretical knowledge acquisition, simulation lab experiences, and experiences on the clinical unit. Our goal is to take new graduate registered nurses or registered nurses with limited critical care clinical experience and grow them within the health system to become competent practitioners. A secondary goal is to improve recruitment and retention in specialty care units. The fellowship programs are designed similar to an academic semester at a university. In Phase 1, also known as Theoretical Foundations, nurse fellows spend between 10 to 12 weeks acquiring new knowledge or building on existing knowledge in their specialty area. In Phase 2, Acquisition of Clinical Skills, fellows spend between 12 and 16 weeks working in the clinical environment with a highly trained preceptor, also known as an associate fellow. During Phase 2, nurse fellows work the schedule of the associate fellow and take care of patients in conjunction with the associate fellow. In Phase 3, also known as professional transitions, the fellows complete their year-long fellowship training working on the shift for which they were hired with the supervision of senior staff. For emergency department nurse fellows, this final phase includes close supervision by a senior staff member in the emergency department. The nurse fellowship curriculum uses a blended learning approach. In particular, the curriculum follows a body systems approach, roughly beginning with the respiratory system and ending with the endocrine system. In a typical 5-day work week, a nurse fellow might expect to spend 2 days a week acquiring new knowledge, 2 days a week in supervised clinical practice, and 1 day a week at the simulation center. New knowledge is acquired through a variety of sources, including e-learning, live presentations by subject matter experts, and self-study. Some of these activities may be assigned to take place at home. Nevertheless, they are considered work time, and the assignments must be completed on time. The supervised clinical practice is there to help the nurse fellow be competent and efficient in the clinical environment. In general, clinical practice activities are linked back to the body systems which were studied on the e-learning platform. And finally, the activities at the simulation center allow the nurse fellows to practice what they have learned earlier in the week in a safe environment where they cannot harm the patient, where they can try out new techniques and receive directed feedback from their educators. We have assembled a team of experts to help you in your transition from novice to experienced critical care nurse. Your master fellow is your nurse educator. Your associate fellow is another term for the preceptor who will work with you on the clinical unit. Of course, your unit manager is very important to your personal development. You should get to know your unit manager and develop a close working relationship. The PSI faculty, the people who help you on SIM every week, are here to help you become expert, safe, and thoughtful practitioners. Please use them as a resource in your professional development. All of the fellows who have gone before you over the last 10 years are out there in our health system and are available to be resources to you. Please search them out, befriend them, and use them as important resources in your professional development. And most importantly, you are the most important member of your professional development team. You will get as much out of this program as you're willing to invest in it. Please invest a lot. The syllabus or schedule for the Nurse Fellowship will be provided to you by your Master Fellow. The content, as I mentioned before, follows the body systems, usually beginning with the respiratory system and ending with multi-organ system failure. The syllabus is flexible and may change based on the needs of the fellows, the unit, the nurse manager, or the Master Fellow. Phase 1 is typically run during weekdays, either 7 to 3 or 8 to 4, based on the unit's needs and the needs of the Master Fellow. You should be prepared to be flexible with your start and end times during Phase 1. In Phase 2, Nurse Fellows are paired with Associate Fellows for clinical experiences. You will work the Associate Fellow's schedule. For example, if the Associate Fellow is working weekends or holidays, you will work with the Associate Fellows on those days. Your Associate Fellow assignment in Phase 2 may be on a shift that is different than the one you were hired for. This will be a discussion between you, the nurse manager, and your Master Fellow. The goal here is to pair you with an appropriate Associate Fellow and an appropriate shift to maximize your learning potential. In Phase 3, you will be assigned to the shift in the unit for which you were hired. You will work a regular work schedule. With regard to work schedules, if you are applying for a position as a nurse fellow and you know that you have a vacation or special event coming up during the fellowship program, you should alert the HR recruiter and your nurse manager in advance of that special event. As a general rule, there are no absences allowed during fellowship. There is no opportunity to make up the material. As such, if you are absent, you will miss a great deal of material, and this absence must be excused in advance by your manager. Simulation is a key component of the fellowship program. Indeed, it may be a unique component compared to other nurse residency programs across the country. Simulation allows us to practice in a low-risk environment where we cannot hurt the patient. It is particularly valuable for new graduate nurses and nurses changing practice areas. It allows us to give you repeatable and consistent events, thereby letting you receive focused one-to-one coaching so that you can improve your clinical care. It also allows you to test out the things that you have learned online, through self-study, and during your supervised clinical experience. It is, in a very real sense, your opportunity to take the training wheels off and take care of the patients on your own and receive feedback from subject matter experts. I will tell you that almost all fellows report that the simulation experience is stressful at first. Most fellows report that the stress dissipates after the second or third simulation session. Please be assured that you are not being evaluated, graded, or scored by the people watching your simulation. We are here to coach you to make you the very best nurse you can be. The sooner you can put aside your stress and engage and enjoy the experience, the more you'll get out of it. Relax and have fun. In exchange for the wonderful opportunity of participating in the Nurse Fellowship Program, we ask fellows to meet the following expectations. Fellows must possess a valid New York State registered nurse license at the time of hiring. You must meet the hiring requirements of the health system. You must complete your assignments on time. To do that, you'll need a computer with reliable internet access. A substantial portion of your knowledge acquisition depends on accessing e-learning portals. The e-learning portals and your activities on them will be monitored by your Master Fellows and others within the administration team. If you fail to complete your assignments on time, you will be counseled by the leadership. Your assignments, although they may take place at home, are considered an important part of your participation in the fellowship program. You must actively participate in your self-development. As I mentioned before, you'll get out of the fellowship exactly what you put into it. Successfully completing the fellowship requires a lot of work. The e-learning modules in particular get more difficult as you go through the body systems. Although the work seems easy at first, it gets more difficult around the 4th or 5th week. It goes without saying that you must attend all of the fellowship activities. This includes lectures, simulation, and your clinical experiences. We also ask you to make a 2-year commitment to the health system in the unit in which you were hired. The fellowship is very expensive and very time-consuming. We put a lot of effort into developing it. Your Master Fellow, the other fellows working in the units, and your Associate Fellows put a lot of work and commitment into maintaining the integrity of the program. The last thing we want is for you to take your fellowship training and take it to our competitor. So we ask that you stay for 2 years. The first year of fellowship, your fellowship year, counts as one of those years. So in effect, we're asking you to stay on 1 year beyond the completion of your fellowship. If you have been watching this presentation, it is because you are either interested in applying for the fellowship or are already engaged in the hiring process. If you are interested in applying for a fellowship position, you may go to the NSLIJ Careers website listed on this slide, use the search term Nurse Fellowship, and find a fellowship program that you are interested in. If you are already engaged in the hiring process and have questions pertaining to salary, scheduling, or other HR matters, you should address those questions directly with your nurse recruiter. If you have questions about the fellowship curriculum, by all means, please reach out to me at the email address on this slide. I'd be happy to answer those questions. Thank you for watching this presentation, and I wish you all the success in the world in your career.